Joining me now, Martina Blahova, CFO at Manganese. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Now, your company is looking to produce ultra high purity manganese, and you're near Prague, and you want to do it from tailings and not from mining. So, can you give us an overview of the model and the project?
Yeah, that's correct. We have a flagship in the Czech Republic, but the company is a Canadian company. We have headquarters in Vancouver, and we're listed on the TSX Venture and Australian Stock Exchange. The deposit that we have is indeed in tailings that are a product of a former pyrite mine, so it was not a manganese mine. The tailings are in a form of very fine material, so we don't have to do any of the hard kind of mining crushing activity. We can just extract it, then it goes into a pulping station and across the rail and road to a processing plant. So it's pretty much like a large chemical processing plant. Also, we're quite lucky in the way that it's a carbonate ore, which is easier to process as opposed to oxide ores, which have to be roasted first. So again, lower CO2 footprint, much more environmentally friendly. And the grade is evenly spread out, so again, easier for processing.
Now, you say in your website that manganese is the 12th most abundant element on Earth, and yet I would think a lot of people don't know much about it. So what is it that our viewers, investors, the market in general should know about it that they don't?
So mostly it's used in steel industry. It also goes to agriculture. However, if you want to use manganese in a battery for electric vehicle, and it's currently in about 50% of the EV batteries, you have to refine it to a 99.9% purity. And the 0.1%, it matters what's in that as well. So there are some elements that cannot be present and there are limits for them. Less than 2% of all the manganese processed in the world annually is processed into the purity that goes into the car batteries. And most of that is done in China.
And Martina, what stage would you say that your company is at in terms of your development, and what are you excited about right now?
We have finished a feasibility study last year. We now have a demonstration plant at site, so that's very exciting that we have actually produced the first metal in the demonstration plant at site from our tailings, and it's on spec, so it's the 99.9% pure. We are now commissioning the last portion of the demo plant, which is dissolving the metal, purifying it, crystallizing it into a sulfate, which is another product, and mostly that is used in the batteries. We have a big year ahead of us. We have filed our final environmental impact assessment. We have one offtake term sheet, so we're now negotiating the contract on that, and we hope to be signing more of those term sheets and contracts. We have started the financing process. Of course, there is still a lot to be done, but we are progressing very well, and we're also looking at how we could develop kind of similar project in North America, so that we have the Czech project as the first step into a multi kind of asset platform. And we have secured a piece of land in Bécancour for the last step, which is the dissolution plant.
Right, in Quebec.
Yes.
Right. And so you touched on financing there. What would that look like? How are you planning to do that?
We have engaged Stifel Nicholas out of London to help us with the debt side of the financing. They have just started the due diligence process with the lenders. We already have the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development as one of our largest shareholders, and they are very interested in becoming a partner in that project financing. They do debt that they can also add to equity. Also, the European Investment Bank is interested. That's their mandate to fund projects like these, so they have already started. And then we're talking to ESG funds, to export credit agencies, and there has also been an inbound interest from commercial banks. On the equity side, we have engaged Bank of Montreal to help us to get a strategic investor into the project, a large name, significant either OEM or someone along the supply chain, and that will be connected with an offtake. Following in that structured equity financing would then be the private equity and then public, which will be Canaccord. Their global team will be in charge of that.
Lots on the go. That's great.
That's right.
So just lastly here, so you're at this conference. We're all at this conference. You presented. People approached you, and I'm curious what kind of questions are you getting, what kind of feedback, but also ultimately what's the investment case as you detail it to investors?
So some questions I got after the presentation were on financing, because the capex requirement is quite significant, but also on kind of ESG aspect of the project, the CO2 footprint. Also, there was one person who was interested in this. This is a tailings project, so there is a fund that is looking to invest in those projects. Again, it's varied, but we are at the right time, at the right place. We are the only manganese resource in Europe. We are reclaiming an old site that currently is polluting. We will be reclaiming it to the current and very strict environmental standards. We're making a product that will go into the transition for EV mobility. And if you want a traceable green product, then we're the only game in town. So I think we're a great project. We're very excited about what we do.
Fascinating. Thanks for joining us and for all the insight and information.
You're welcome. Thank
Martina Blahova, CFO at Manganese.